There was great hunger in the village of Obunde. Obunde was a man who had a wife and 9 children. His wife was called OSWERA. So OSWERA was a very caring woman, and she loved her children so much. So the only place where he could get food was in the land of the ogres. And people feared the ogres. So OSWERA thought, how am I going to feed my children? And she started her journey to the land of the ogres. So she met this very huge ogre with one big eye, and it looked so ugly. But that did not scare her. She faced the ogre and said, I'm starving. My children are starving. I need to get food from you. And the ogre said, you know what we always do? You give me your child, you get a basket of potatoes. Oh, okay, I'm ready to give you one child for today, and you give me that basket of potatoes. Well, the ogre smiled. So OSWERA went back home, went to the farm, picked banana stalks. She cut it into pieces and put it on fire. She fried it. It smelled so nice. And she took the pot to the ogre. Here is my first child, so give me the basket of potatoes. And she was given, so she carried the basket back home. So he survived on that basket of potatoes until it was over. Stayed for a week, and she needed more potatoes. So what was she going to do? She carried out the same routine, went, picked a basket of potatoes, and took well-fried banana stalk to the monster. And there he was, he ate. She did that until all her children were assumed to be dead. She went to the ogre and said, now what am I going to do? My children are gone. I don't have any other child, and the hunger is still on. And the ogre said, you're still alive. And Obunde, your husband, is still alive. So go fry yourself and bring me that meal. It's okay. Now that I can't bring myself to you, you will come and pick my flesh from my kitchen. And the ogre said, it's okay. I'm on my way. And the banana stalks were no longer there. But she still had to lie to the ogre. So OSWERA thought, what am I going to do? She took a dog because the banana stalks were no longer there. She took one of the dogs, slaughtered it very fast, and she cooked it, fried it so nicely, just the way she had done with the stalks. And she left it in the kitchen. And she kept peeping to see if the ogre was coming. So the ogre arrived in OSWERA's homestead. He was walking leisurely. And he found Obunde in the kitchen and he said, where's my meal? Obunde pointed. And Obunde said, it's in the kitchen. It's over there. So he went, picked the meal, and he ate it with all the bread that flavor the same. So finally, he was full. And he said, I'll come back for my next meal. So prepare yourself. When the ogre left, he started crying. OSWERA, my wife, where are you? What am I going to do? How am I going to kill myself and fry what my slime made for the ogre? How am I going to kill myself? Oh! And OSWERA got annoyed from where she was hiding. So she got out of the hole and said to the husband, "You are very foolish. What kind of man are you? You're supposed to slaughter the dog. Look for anything. The only thing remaining here is the dog. Slaughter the dog and leave it here for the ogre to come and feast." So Obunde quickly got out of the dog, slaughtered it very fast, cut the meat into pieces, and he placed it on fire, fried it so well, and he went to hide where his wife was hiding with the children. And they kept peeping. They kept peeping to see if the ogre was coming. And there he was, coming with the other ogres. And you know, this explains the character of the ogre. He was a generous one. He came with 5 other ogres, and they sat in the kitchen. They ate the meat so leisurely as they told stories, laughing, making merry. And when they were done, they could hear a song. And the ogre that was used to talking to OSWERA could tell that was Ogura's voice, and he was singing, "You thought you ate my children and the wife? You thought you ate my children and my wife? No, you ate the banana stalks. You ate the dog. You thought you ate me? You thought you ate my children and my wife? No, you ate the banana stalks." And the ogre got annoyed. "Do you know who I am? Why are you playing around with me?" So he went to the place where the voice was coming from. There were the 9 children of OSWERA and Obunde. And Obunde and OSWERA were also there. He got so annoyed. And when he opened his mouth to talk, OSWERA was sharp enough, very ready with his hot metal. He pushed it inside the ogre's mouth, and the ogre fell down and died. And the second ogre came, ready to open its mouth and talk. And OSWERA was there with the hot metal. She pushed it inside the second ogre, and it fell down with the third and died. And the same was done for the other ogres, and they all fell down and died. And the ogres were no more. And the whole village was in the mood of celebration. They made merry. They celebrated at the fall down of the ogres. And that is the end of my story.
The story of Obunde and OSWERA is an ogre narrative. And when we talk about ogre narratives, in most cases, we have a superhuman being, and that is the ogre, where in most cases they are creatures that are scary, they are fierce, and they present evil. But at the end of the narrative, you realize that they end up being killed or they end up being defeated. Okay. So when you look at this story, we have a lot of creation of fantasy. And remember, we said that fantasy is whereby we are bringing the imaginary world into the mind of a human being. So when we have the ogre talking to OSWERA, is something that cannot happen in the normal world. Also, the appearance of ogres and the land of the ogres, that is all a creation of a human mind. And this brings the idea of fantasy. We can also have a moral lesson. When you look at the story, we are looking at the man, Obunde. He is a coward. When the ogre comes to meet Obunde, Obunde is scared and he even trembles and starts crying. So we are told at the end of the story, maybe what we can learn is that even in the midst of trouble, we have to stand in courage, just the way OSWERA did. She went boldly to the ogre, and at the end of it all, we see her being able to fend for her family and even protect her children. So this is a story that gives us that moral lesson. Now, one more thing that I want to tell students, when you're answering a question on moral lesson, don't use a negative statement. Don't say what the story is not telling us to be. Say what the story is telling us to be. So in this case, don't say the story tells us we should not be cowards. Say the story teaches us that we should be courageous. We should be bold, even in the midst of trouble. So I repeat, you should avoid negative statements. Now, commonly, you will be asked about the character traits. What character trait can you capture from OSWERA? We are seeing her coming out as a very bold character. So she is a bold character because she's able to face the ogre, and she's even able to think of ways that she can lie to the ogre and protect her children. So her courage to go to the land of the ogres portrays her as a very bold and courageous character. Now we can also look at Obunde. He's a coward at one point, and we say he's a coward whereby he started crying when the wife was gone, and now he had to look at ways that he could deal with the ogre. So at the end of it all, we can still look at Obunde as a very courageous character, a very clever character. When he came up with the idea of placing the metal in the hot charcoal, and then later on when the ogre came, he was able to push it through the mouth and the ogres died. So this story teaches us that we should be bold characters, and when we're faced with trouble, we should always stand out and seek for solutions rather than trying to stand there and pity ourselves.